All right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel, and I got something fairly huge to talk about, and you may have already heard it. If you haven't, you've been like living under a rock. There was a major U.S. Twitter account hacking in a Bitcoin scam, and you might think to yourself, what kind of Bitcoin scam? Well, nobody else has thought of any kind of new Bitcoin scam, and it's the same old, but it was a huge Twitter hack as major Twitter labels from celebrities to corporations were all hacked all at once and basically tried the double your Bitcoin scam type deal. And the image right here, we see Apple. We are giving back to our community. We support Bitcoin. We believe you should too. All Bitcoin sent to our address below will be sent back to you doubled. What a great plan. And if, it's really amazing how often this actually works. It just keeps on working. So billionaires Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, among many prominent U.S. figures targeted by hackers on Twitter in an apparent Bitcoin scam. The official accounts of Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Kanye West also requested donations in cryptocurrency, all of them saying, send 1,000, we'll send you back 2,000, etc. Twitter said it was coordinated attack targeting its employees with access to internal systems and tools. This happened Wednesday night, so it was actually last night. It's really late for me, so I'm going to try and make it somewhat as fast as possible here, but that's never the case whenever I say that. We know the hackers used this access to take control of many highly visible, including verified accounts, and tweet on their behalf. The company said in a series of tweets. It added that significant steps were taken to limit access to such internal systems and tools while the company's investigation was ongoing. Meanwhile, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey tweeted, "Tough day for all of us at Twitter. We all feel terrible this happened." So Twitter earlier had to take extraordinary step of stopping many verified accounts marked with blue ticks from tweeting altogether. Password reset requests were also being denied, and some other account functions disabled. So even your ability to reset your password had to be stopped by Twitter. So this appears to be the worst hack of a major social media platform yet. So it was huge. On the official account of Mr. Musk, the Tesla and SpaceX chief appeared to offer to double any Bitcoin payment sent to his address of his digital wallet. So there's Elon Musk tweet. Other targets included were Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, former U.S. President Obama, former U.S. Vice President Joe Biden, who is the current Democratic presidential candidate, media billionaire Mike Bloomberg, the ride-sharing app Uber, apparently... who's that guy? Peter Schiff, the gold guy. Apparently it was him as well. It's not mentioned in here. The iPhone maker Apple, Uber, pretty much every major personality was hacked on Twitter. So the idea of these double your Bitcoin scams, they've been a persistent pest on Twitter for years, but this unprecedented with the actual accounts of public figures hijacked and on a super large scale. So again, it's nothing new in the attack that... nothing was really hacked or like data was lost or anything. And I read somewhere that the way they did it was that somehow they managed to get into the tools of Twitter themselves and be able to change people's actual email that was associated with it. So that's why Twitter actually had to shut down even your ability to go into your email and reset your own password, because these hackers actually got into that functionality of Twitter and changed your email or their email addresses to something different. So it's pretty bad. This is a scam. Do not participate, says Cameron Winklevoss. This is the same attack takeover that other major crypto Twitter accounts are experiencing. Be vigilant. Situation is ongoing, says him. So the hackers were able to take more than $100,000 according to publicly available blockchain records, which we're going to look at. I have that Bitcoin address. And again, with Bitcoin, very easy to just type it on into a blockchain explorer. But first, before we get to that, I just want to show this picture that somebody had posted on cryptocurrency Reddit on the front page. And at the time, you can see that they didn't have much in the account, and it's hard to say if this is all they had in the account at the time this picture was taken, or if this was early in on it. But that's not really what we're talking about. I'll show you the amount that total was transferred over, that apparently was scammed from people. But also you have to keep in mind, too, that a lot of times scammers will actually seed their own scam address just to make it look, in case people look up the blockchain and they see it and they're like, oh, this must be real, which is really weird, because if you know to look up the blockchain, an address on the block explorer, if you will, then you're probably too smart to send to a scam like this that is just going to apparently magically double your money. So, which is a little bit weird, but they do it. But there was sort of a hidden message in all this. So they started to output to a ton of different various Bitcoin wallets. You can see some of them were 666 Satoshis, or that could be, is that 8 digits? But they were sending the Bitcoin away, and the hidden messages in all of the customized addresses that they were sending to. One of them is just read all. The second one is transaction outputs as text. The next one says you take risk when you use Bitcoin. The next one was for your Twitter game. Another one reads Bitcoin is traceable. The next one reads why not Monero, and the other one who knows. And this one, I believe, is the actual address that everything was sent to originally. So this is just what they were just sending to at the time. But this is the actual address that everything was sent to, this BC1 address. And they have a total of 374 transactions with this address. And right now they're probably pumping it all away and doing whatever with it. And we'll go back to the Reddit account, because a lot of people were saying some interesting things about it. Total received was 12 Bitcoin. Now, I would like to imagine that a lot of these scams and a lot of other people agree that they seed their own address to make it look more legitimate, which once again is really weird, because if you know to actually look up the block explorer, the address on a block explorer, then you're probably smart enough to not fall for the scam to begin with. But well, so 12.86 Bitcoin, and they have sent out a total of 12.85. So there's still just a little bit left in there that they haven't actually sent as of yet. But going back to the Reddit post here, one person translated all of the various hidden message public keys. And then they say they probably yeeted the Bitcoin they received into Monero shortly after. And then another person basically tells how you could probably get away with this. It says, run Tails from a USB stick on a throwaway laptop. All network traffic goes over Tor. Next step, connect to a public Wi-Fi in a big city. Next step, make a number of CoinJoin transactions to mix up all your Bitcoin. CoinJoin is decentralized, so nobody can stop it. Next step, use a decentralized exchange to trade the Bitcoins from your scam for Monero. Again, on a centralized exchange, the owners can just take your Bitcoin or freeze your account, but not on a proper DEX. Next, after you have the Monero, make a number of transactions to yourself. Now, send it to your own account on one of the big exchanges and sell it for fiat. And then he says, even if the NSA tries to figure out your identity, it's going to be quite the challenge. Satoshi was able to remain 100% anonymous just by using Tor. This technology is powerful, and it cuts both ways. And it says, one guy says, this guy hacks so hard. Another person replies, not worth it for a measly 100K, right? Actually, it probably wasn't a lot of work for these hackers to do this. It probably took them a little while to figure out how to get into the system tools, etc., of Twitter itself in order to change everybody's email addresses. But this would be certainly worth it. So 12 Bitcoin at what are we at now? $9,200. So yeah, well over $100,000 for this. And I highly doubt anybody is going to get caught for this because it's usually the case. And as for Satoshi was able to remain 100% anonymous, I always wondered that. Is the CIA or NSA, probably more like the NSA, they're the more in that sense, able to figure it out. And I actually kind of want to talk about that. So we're sort of done with the Twitter news. That's basically it. Many, many major U.S. Twitter accounts, and more, all hacked at the same exact time by some obviously pretty clever hackers and a bunch of, I have to say it, idiots who fell for this and decided to send Bitcoin to something that promised that you're going to get more Bitcoin back, which is just amazing because in the rest of the world that would never, ever, ever work, except for maybe a loan. If somebody comes up to you on the street, says, "Give me $20, I'll immediately give you $40." Yeah, that's never happened, probably ever. But I do want to talk about Satoshi being 100% anonymous. It just sort of sparked what I have actually just thought about in my own house, just sort of sitting around from time to time, and didn't really talk about on any of my videos. And I've certainly talked about Satoshi a number of times, but I would like to point out that the NSA, and this isn't a conspiracy, this isn't me putting my tinfoil hat on. You can simply Google the secret NSA rooms at ISPs. So if you live in a small town, generally you have just some random ISP like Windstream or some kind of local ISP. Well, oftentimes those ISPs are just cable or DSL, and you can't get any fiber optic there. I happen to live in Pittsburgh where I can get fiber optic internet. But if I lived out in one of those towns, I could not do that. Or in my original hometown, I couldn't do that. It just doesn't exist. So basically, you have to either use DSL or cable, and then they send that via a fiber optic line. So you go to that ISP, you send your data, they send that data via a fiber optic line to the nearest major city, like Pittsburgh or Cleveland or Buffalo or New York City or something like that, where there's a major big ISP like AT&T or Verizon or something like that. And then that data goes out to the rest of the world. So it uses the fiber optic line to get there very, very quickly and then go out to the rest of the world wherever you sent your information. And the NSA actually legitimately has a secret room in these AT&T and Verizon places. And like I said, you could just Google it, and there's actually a Wikipedia page for it where there's literally a door inside of a major ISP with no door handle. You would just have to open it, I would imagine, with some kind of magnetic key or something. And there's fiber optic lines essentially going out into the ground, out of the building. And those go to the NSA, where the NSA can pick up literally all of the traffic of the entirety of the internet. So as the fiber optic lines come from under the ocean, from Europe, etc., they're going to immediately go to the NSA, and they're just going to copy the information. And this is a thing that that guy Edward Snowden years back actually made public. And before that, it wasn't public. We didn't know that. But the NSA is literally taking all of the information. Now, I don't think they're actually sitting there reading your individual emails. That is not possible. But you could easily write scripts, algorithms, etc., however you want to say it, that could filter out that information in a particular way. And that's sort of, as an NSA code writer, that's one of the things you would be doing, is to write scripts particularly for this or particularly for that. So all that data coming in is just nonsense. And then if you write a script for it, you can take out that particular bit of information. And I always thought to myself, could you find Satoshi if you were the NSA? And if you had all of the information of the internet coming in at you for many, many years, for likely at least a couple decades now, could you find Satoshi? And I think my answer is yes. And you could take a lot of things. Whenever the Bitcoin.org website was founded, I think Satoshi made that in something like October of 2008. And that's what the website that he used to put the white paper on. And then Bitcoin didn't actually come out to be mineable for a few months later in January of 2009. So you could essentially take all that data and on that day that it was actually created, even with Satoshi using Tor and connecting to a somewhere in the world, you could find all of that information that was executed at that exact time which is a lot of information on the internet, but you could find all of that information at that exact time. If it was registered at 8 o'clock on this particular day, you could take all the information of the internet at that time and filter it and start to actually filter it out. And then you could see, okay, well, the domain was registered via this Amsterdam server, which is actually just a, you know, it was going over Tor. And then you could say, okay, well, what accessed that particular server at that particular time? So if you're using, some kind of proxy like that, then you could take whatever accessed at that particular time, and then take all that data and work it out to whoever made that particular. And I think you could. And again, I think I'm stumbling a little bit because the information is absolutely overwhelming that you would get. But if you are the NSA and you have supercomputers and you have extremely good code writers that could write scripts to find that exact information at that exact time, take all that data at once, and then sift through that data and see where that came from, I think you could actually find Satoshi. And in the end, I think it wouldn't even matter if the CIA or the NSA found Satoshi, because he essentially created something that is going to infinitely continue as long as there are node operators in the world. So I think even if you knew who Satoshi was, it wouldn't really matter, even if you were the government and say you didn't like Bitcoin. And I've also heard some conspiracy theories that the CIA or the NSA actually got to Satoshi and talked to him, but I don't even know if they would really want to or not, if he would be that interesting of a person to them. Because if you think about it, Bitcoin code is not a lot of code, and it's been scrutinized by the entire world. We can all read the Bitcoin code and how it operates and how many you can read all of the code. It's absolutely open software. And so I think anybody working for the NSA or the CIA in some kind of computer fashion is easily going to be more than qualified to read that data and be able to fully understand Bitcoin without actually interviewing Satoshi himself. But that's just my little cut on that. I think yes, the NSA probably knows who, if they really wanted to, or if they don't already, could find out who Satoshi is by just analyzing all of the internet's data, which I'm sure they have kept on their supercomputers and their basically infinite budget. Hell, we have the Wayback Machine, which basically keeps all of the internet's data on it for the most part, so, or at least caches it all. So I think, yes, I think they probably could just find out what server was accessed to create that domain, and then go back from there and go back from there, and eventually you're just sort of sifting out wrong information of everybody who connected to the internet at that exact time, which is overwhelming, but I'm sure with some supercomputers you could probably get the job done. But that's all I have for you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. As usual, I'll see you guys next time.